Everyone, please take your seats. Class is now in session. Welcome on in, come one, come all. I am your professor, Professor Zander Netherbrand. You're awful far away. Take a step closer to me. Thank you. There we go. Wonderful. I am your Professor Zander Netherbrand. I hope you are all doing wonderfully, my students. Welcome, welcome. Do enter one at a time. Take your seats. No pushing or shoving, please. No pushing or shoving. Thank you. Thank you. Very well. Hello there. I hope you're all doing wonderfully today. Now, for those of you who are new here, I am Professor Zander Netherbrand, in case you didn't get that from what I had previously said. And of course, you are here at my class, How to Write Smut 101, Romance and Writing. For those of you who may have taken one of my classes before, it is lovely to have you here. And of course, the Rhizors are stomping on in. However, they're going to be walking in a neat single file line as they make their way to their desks. Is that not correct? Is that not correct? Rhizors are walking calmly in a single file line to their desks. Welcome on in, Rhizors. Welcome on in. You're just in time to catch the very start of the stream. In fact, let's start our little spiel again, shall we? Welcome in, class. It is lovely to see you all. I am Professor Zander Netherbrand, Professor Netherbrand to all of you. Now, I am going to be teaching your latest class that you have signed up for. That is going to be How to Write Smut 101, Romance and Writing, a class designed by me to help you in all of your literary pursuits. Not just smut, but there are a variety of several different literary disciplines that this class can help you with. So if you're interested in writing your own smut, or perhaps even just interested in writing in general and taking a more descriptive approach to things, this may be the class for you, right? Now, I hope you are all doing wonderfully. It stomps to my desk. You can't control me. We'll see. And Tristian, are you chewing gum in class? Are you chewing gum? Is that gum? Better not be gum. Thank you for the gifting member, though. And Jackals, thank you for the super. Blows paper darts through a straw at board. Typical. I'm in a class full of delinquents. Absolute delinquents. No, you're not late. Plenty of time. Do join me. And of course, from the wonderful, delightful, delectable pre-chat. Hello, Michaela. We have a special invigilator for this class. Lovely. Come on in. Welcome in. From the Pariah pre-chat, I would like to say thank you to Pecan Club Netherbrand's Peanut for the super. I'm just going to put out there that the collar asset with the chains is, the coat asset with the collar and chains is lethal. Lethal, I say, absolutely lethal. I'm glad you have such strong opinions of how your lecturer is dressed. Let's channel that passion into your work, shall we? And of course, Senna Snake, Club Netherbrand's. Oh, goodness. Club Netherbrand's Tone Deaf. Dear YouTube, please keep this questionably educational VOD up for those who can't catch the stream, brackets me. Many, many thanks. Sincerely, a small-time fanfic writer. Very well. Don't worry, YouTube shan't take this. I know how to play the game at this point, and of course, they cannot stop me. Now, of course, Rhubarb as well. Rhubarb, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you very much, darling. I, of course, shall give you a whole pass for all of that. Come and go. Here you go. Thank you very much, darling. Mwah. There you go. And Michaela screams more offendedly, having a message missed. Hydrate, satiate, medicate, and pontificate on this class without the smut queen. Runs away. Yay. Lovely to see you, Michaela. Oh, let's go. And Vanya, Club Netherbrand's Blazelust loving boy kisser, thank you for the gifted membership too. And of course, Porphyria Minos, thank you for proving you're in my walls for this stream, LMAO. Thanks for doing the heavy lifting for the 101 section. More than happy. And of course, Jansong as well. Thank you for 3 months. I'm finally caught alive, and I'm live and ready to learn. And of course, Hikari, deity system. I've got my notes app ready for the stream. Let's go. Love that. Thank you very much. Now, everyone get comfy, get your notes apps out, get your pens, get your paper. There will be questions. I will go through the whole format of this. We've done these before, but there will be entire opportunities to go through, ask questions, type things out. There are going to be scheduled breaks as well for you to sort of like catch up on things. There'll be little revision points. Don't worry. This is actually structured like a real class, but it's fun. Okay, I swear it's like actually fun. I promise. Fuck, I'm better than the other lecturers. I swear. Now, Dex, the club guard dog. Good evening, Professor. Glad to be back in your class. I've got my notebook primed and ready. Ignore the fact that I am a dog in the front row seats. I wasn't going to point it out, but you know, whose dog is this? Thank you, Dex. And the grieving model, thank you for the glizzy. And Stormy, brush his hair. I must look my best. Thank you, Stormy. Tristan. I'll be taking this class as part of my doctoral fellowship on FSP Gap Moe relationships. Wonderful, Tristan. It's good to see that this class is going to be contributing towards a very valuable major. Very nice to hear. And Mystic Moon, member for 3 months. Professor, is it too late to drop? You walked through the doors of my classroom. Unfortunately, there's no getting out. It's the same as Club Netherbrand. One way in, one way out. And you're not liking the way out. With that, though, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all buckled up. Shall we get into the class? Shall we get into the class? Before we get fully into things, of course, there's a little rundown that I have to do, which is there are going to be stop points every handful of slides where we can ask questions and go through. If anyone sends supers or has any questions that they send that way, what we'll do is we'll hold on to those and we will both react and interact with all the questions and anything that you have during the little break points that have been scheduled in. There is a presentation to go along with all of this as well. Not only that, but I've included examples I've written myself to kind of showcase the things in writing that are going to be there. And on top of that as well, we'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. And of course, hey, Pastry, thank you very much for the super. A good sex scene is the same as a good fight scene with the tension and action balanced, IMO. That is 100% correct and very close to some of the stuff I described during this. That is very, very close. That is in some of the text examples I couldn't put on screen, but can read. So, yes, don't you worry. That is a very good point. Here, have a gold star. There you go. Okay, you've got a gold star. Wonderful. All right. So, with that in mind, who wants to head over and see the start of the presentation? Yeah. And Pecan, Club Netherbrand's Peanut, hides my sketchbook under my notebook and laptop. Huh? I'm not drawing the professor. What do you mean? Tee-hee. Tee-hee. It's fine. Go for it. You just got to promise to make use of it later in your works. And wait. Can we sit on your lap, Professor? Asking for a friend? I'm sorry. I don't think... This isn't that kind of school, okay? First of all, I'm faculty. You're a student. That'd be highly inappropriate, okay? At least wait until I storm off and quit my job in 2 weeks. Thank you, Wei. Tee-hee. And of course, Lillian as well, thank you for joining the Netherbranded. Now, let's head over, shall we, to what I'm going to tactfully show. Tee-hee. Let's go. Tee-hee. Also, I know management are so watching right now. They're terrified, I can tell. Well, hi there. Welcome to Writing and Romance. That's what I named this. That's what I chose to name this. Welcome to Class 1, Writing and Romance. That's right. Let's organize this Tupperware drawer. Why? Because hell, we got a bunch of bottoms and not a single top to be found. Oh goodness. Now I'm sure all of you are I put this together last night. I hope you like it. So excuse you. So, with that in mind, I put this this presentation together over the last couple of days for all of you. I have been gently polishing it. It's in a pretty decent state. So I do hope that this can be a decent literary guide on not only your writing, but also a few things in general. Now, there are 32 slides in total on this one. Each one holds a different point, has examples and a variety of different things. There are going to be some things that I can show on this slideshow. There are going to be a couple of things I can't show on this slideshow. Either way, I'm trying to be very YouTube safe so as not to allow management to beat me. 32, yes, it's a big number. Hey, I told you, this was a 101 class. Don't worry. Don't you worry, darling. And of course, all of this will be available in the VOD. The VOD will stay up, don't worry. So you can go back, you can go over things that you missed, you can pause on slides, you can go through everything. So there is going to be good. It's going to be good. So with that, welcome to Writing and Romance, a class by Zander Netherbrand. Now, I'm sure several of you are wondering, why the hell should you listen to me, right? I know there are a few new Netherlings here, so why the hell should you listen to me? Well, let's get started on that, shall we? First of all, okay, so first of all, I have a background in not only writing, but also theatre. I have written several plays. Many of them have been shown in both London and Barcelona. I have a degree in theatre with a specialization in voice and performance, as well as having worked with the Spanish Film Academy on several short films, as well as having starred in a couple myself. I have worked in, I believe, 3 separate continents at this point on various acting projects, and I've had my writing showcased in both professional and non-professional circles. To go even further, I came runner-up for an award in writing in regards to university and drama school circles, and I believe my prior drama school currently sits within the top 7 universities in the world, I believe in the UK, and top 20 within the world for the dramatical experience, essentially, the level of education provided. So, for those of you who know, I have a degree in this, I've worked in this, and I've done this for many, 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 many years. So, tee-hee. Tee-hee, that's our streamer. Yes, that's our streamer. So, if there's anyone who's going to talk to you about how to do some smut good and proper, I'm probably gonna be, I'm goated with the sauce when it comes to the smut. Goodness, our professor, why thank you. Now, before we go on, there are going to be a few things that I would like you to remember. Examples, before we go on, examples and language used in this lesson will be in the general tense. Now, when I say that, I mean that there are going to be specific examples. There are always going to be exceptions to some of the rules that I state. There are always going to be unique happenings. There are always going to be things that do and don't apply to any given relationship and circumstance. So please do remember that these rules, these ideas are used in a general sense to help guide you, as opposed to give you a simple blueprint of exactly what you need to do. These are things to help you improve your writing rather than dictate the exact way it needs to be done. Next, the examples used will be specifically tailored to the subject matter discussed at the time. So, for example, if I am discussing a monogamous relationship between 2 characters, these examples may not always necessarily go hand in hand if applied to, say, a polyamorous relationship with multiple characters, right? Obviously, relationships come in all different shapes and sizes in regards to this, so the examples used will be tailored specifically to the subject and case we are going to be examining at the time. So, please keep this in mind. Again, relationships will ebb and change depending on the characters themselves and the relationships you wish to have between the characters. So, do keep note and know that you have to adapt what I teach to whatever you wish to make it into. Feel free to pick and choose. Beg, borrow, steal, and cherry pick the lessons that you want from this. Next, romance comes in many forms, but we are going to be focusing on the build-up to the physical act itself. Now, there are slow burn romances. There are flash in the pan romances, right? Now, we're going to be focusing on the build-up to the final romantic act itself, and then a little bit into the actual parts mashing together, all right? Just a touch, as much as I can get away with. So, we aren't going to be going too long into the slow burn because of the fact that a lot of that applies to previous lessons that I have done in regards to building character dynamic and relationship, right? So, please know that we are going to be focusing on one very specific part, which is why I did label this stream How to Write Smut 101. And that's because good smut starts in the build-up. Okay, and of course, some language may be changed throughout this stream to be YouTube safe. Henceforth, I will need to tailor my descriptiveness at times to fit the platform. So there are certain phrases that I'm going to try and steer away from if I say things in a slightly more finangled way. That's simply because I want the VOD to remain up so that everyone gets a chance to enjoy, even if they're not here enjoying my weirdness. So, tee-hee. And of course, there will be pauses every few slides for questions. I have everything that you guys say and everything that you guys sort of like super chat and all that saved on a separate little bit I can look at. So I will go through and of course check them periodically. So with that, shall we sink our teeth in? And by the way, I use that phrase very deliberately. And just wait, the sink our teeth in is going to be a good one. What is romance? Quote unquote romance. So, as we see here, the steady building of the relationship between two or more characters culminating in a romantic encounter. A romantic encounter can be fast, slow, or any pace in between. All that matters in terms of pacing is that it fits the characters involved. See? Notice that when we say that all that matters in terms of pacing is that it fits the characters involved, that could be very, very true. For example, two individuals who are slightly more reserved may take a longer period of time to warm up to one another before culminating into a romantic act, whereas two characters who are a little bit more fancy-free, like if you stuck, like Malum and I in a bar, you know, all it would take is 3 drinks and before you know it, you're stuck with each other. So, with that in mind, character is everything. I highlight this again and again and again. Character is everything. Stay true to what your characters are, how they would act under any given circumstances, and that will help inform and guide the way that your romance goes, as well as the actions in a more intimate sense as well. But we will get onto that. As always, build-up is everything. I've highlighted this twice now. Build-up is everything. Jumping straight into the PWP, as it were. Even PWP has P with it. So just to, even prawns without plots have some plot before they get to the prawn, just because of the fact that it helps give a sense of gravitas and of course context to the actions ahead. You know, even if you were going on a certain website, that is orange and black, and I'm not talking about, you know, Rizar Blazing Fang's jacket, you know, there's always still that pre-plot. The pizza delivery guy turns up, and oh no, whoever doesn't have money to pay him, you know. Oh no, you know, the stepsister's stuck in the washing machine, you know. There is still context. It never jumps straight into mashing everything together, usually, if there is any attempt at plot, you know. So, with that in mind, this is so oddly specific, I know. But we still have to start somewhere, right? Exactly, class. Right? Now, it does inform the plot and the direction, right? A little bit of plot is always needed, just a dash, just a sprinkling. Now, easy start, revising before it gets hot. I know that we may have some new people in my class. I want to say that we're going to revise some of the previous lessons that are relevant to this class. So if you've stopped by any of my other Writing 101 streams, it has been quite a long time since we've done any of them. If you've stopped by one of my previous streams, then this may touch on some topics that you already know, but it's going to serve as both a refresher for those who are experienced with my writing streams and a quick education for those of you who are new. The idea is that I want to get everyone up to speed and thinking on the same level before we dive into teaching new materials. I want to solidify what you already know, while at the same time give you the confidence to ask questions and also be dynamic moving forward. At the end of the day, your confidence, which I'm giving you through this, is key. And I want you to have the confidence to pursue what you want artistically and also creatively. So this is going to be about giving you the strong foundation that you need to develop creatively. So I want that for you. Mwah. There you go. That's one from your teacher. So an easy start, hard end, phase 1, revising before it gets hot. What do I need to write smut? Traditional story structure. So what you can see here is an example in this box. Some of you may recognize this diagram from How to Write a Script 101. Now, this is because of the fact this is what is a standard story structure. You may recognize this from Hollywood, you may recognize this from plays, you may recognize this from your favorite book, but this is usually what is a standard structure for any given story. Now, just to talk it through here, you have the core story, which is usually the protagonist and their journey from A to B. The core story runs parallel to a side story with either characters that the protagonist has interacted with or some secondary protagonists. Usually, the antagonist has a POV at some point. Please know the positions of this also show partially how the plot timeline usually interacts. So the antagonist usually has a POV for some of it. The antagonist during their POV, as you can see from this center here, just there, the antagonist makes a major triumph against the protagonist. Then the side story affects the main plot that results in a happy ending of some sort. Either the protagonist is defeated, etc., etc., etc. A good example would be a really good example would be, let's say, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. That's going to be my example here, right? You have the core story, which is Harry and the gang looking for what's happening to all the students, etc., etc. We get the side story of Neville also trying to help and do his thing. He has a few solo scenes, he does his thing. Eventually, he is stopped by the, core protagonists from getting too involved and hurting himself. And we also get, Dumbledore trying to do his thing as well in the side story. So these are sort of side plots going on. We get an antagonist POV with Tom Riddle, the final confrontation between Harry and Tom Riddle in the Chamber of Secrets, where Tom wins, knocking Harry to the floor. He says it's all over, etc., etc. That's the antagonist making his major triumph. Then the side story, the Sword of 𝓂𝓸𝓾𝓻, which was being looked for. The side story that involves Neville, involves Dumbledore, comes into effect. Suddenly, Harry's able to pull the sword out of the hat because the side story has affected the main plot, and thus he is able to vanquish the basilisk via his big swing of the sword, and a happy ending is achieved for everyone involved. There you go. And you'll see this kind of, this rough framework play across most media. So anytime you have heroes triumphing over villains, it's very much the standard hero's journey sort of story structure. So in relation to that, we need to adapt our story structure to our new plot. Because does smut and romance and yaoi need the antagonist to make a major triumph? Does it need grand side stories that implement and affect the plot? Does it need an antagonist POV? Not really, does it? We can strip away the unnecessary. We can take away the things that don't work. Now, if we're writing on a grander scale, it can work depending on the roles given, but if we're talking about core need, then perhaps not. Perhaps we can take it away. Sometimes this can work. But if we're going into purely smut, a little bit of classic, then we can just take away the things that are fat. We can take away the story structure and trim the fat off from the meat, as it were, and keep away and keep the core. And again, you'll notice the little meat illusion I've thrown in there. So we adapt our structure to suit our narrative. For those of you taking note, make a note of this, okay? We adapt our structure to suit our narrative. This is the very important of important here. This is a big key one. So, when creating our story, we have to adapt our narrative structure to suit the needs and format of what we are given. Do we need to worry about the whole journey to Middle-earth if we're just talking about how, I don't know, Nayu and Altus get down and dirty? No, we don't. Do we need to worry about the stock market exchange rate if we're just thinking about what happens behind closed doors with Roscoe and Malim? No, we don't, right? You know, we don't, okay? But what we can do, though, is use these things to enrich the plot, enrich the setting, make it more believable, and thus extend life to it, right? There's a reason I'm your professor. In all seriousness, I get what you mean. See? Very good, very good. So, strip away the unneeded and keep only what adds to what you desire. Have a goal in your mind of what you wish to present. If you are just writing a short one-off, one-shot to talk about Rizar Blazenfang going, I don't know, off the top of my head, Rizar Blazenfang in a strength contest with our true blue Oni, right? And the two of them getting worked up. I'm stronger than you. I'm XYZ, and it ends in some smut. Then you don't really need to worry about creating a plot that's going to last 3 or 4 or 5 chapters, do you? You need something that's going to be serviceable to get you from your starting goal to your end goal. And if you have that in mind when you start writing, what is it that I want to create here? How long do I want it to last? What desire do I have? Then you're able to adapt your framework to make it work. Now, there are 3 core needs in any story, and they're what I lovingly refer to as the 3 C's. The 3 C's, everyone. All right. Now, this is something that I personally have sort of like adapted into my vernacular, and it's what I use whenever I write scripts for plays or scripts professionally. So this is something that I personally use and stand by, not just in Smut, but in every single type of writing imaginable. Everything. There is so much here that you can use, and it is the 3 C's. And the 3 C's are characters, conflict, and climax. A story needs characters, conflict, and climax. And yes, that last one is a partial deliberate pun for what we are writing today. That's right. Characters, conflict, and climax. All right? So, what I could do is I could sit here and I know, alliteration. We love the alliteration. So, what I could do is I could sit here and I could just feed you examples and go X, Y, Z, and I could be very dry during teaching this lesson. And I could give very, very basic examples throughout media. However, I don't actually think that's the best way that everyone's watching is going to learn. As someone who's done a little bit of teaching in his time, I think that you should always adapt the way you teach to your students and to your audience. So as a result, we are going to be using something that I wrote over the last couple of days as an example. That's right. We're going to be using a little bit of Zander Netherbrand's own writing with a Blazelust fic that he managed to stick together in the last couple of nights as a small example, and we're going to be dissecting the text as we move forward and using it as our point of focus and reference during all of this. Yes, indeed. I'm sure that all of you are very aware. Rizar was kind enough to give me his permission to do this, so a big thank you to Rizar as well. However, I felt like this would be the best way to sort of present this in the given context. So, oh shit, someone recognized I'm using AO3's font. Oh dear. Goodness. So, before we go on, let's have a quick moment of question time. I did say that we were going to have regular breaks for question time, And what we'll do is we will have a moment now where if you do have questions in the chat, we'll take a quick couple of minutes just to answer those, go through them, and see what's there. And of course, check in on the super chats as well up until this point. So, Porphyria Minos, thank you for the super. Top here, I'll round up the others, boss. Please do, they're difficult to find. They're a rare breed, as it were. And of course, Vanya as well, Club Netherbrand's Blazelust loving boy kisser. Oh, you're in your element here. I was waiting for this one. Right, exactly. And the Wild Monarch. Can the antagonist be incorporeal, like a character's inner thoughts? That is a very, very good question, Wild Monarch. So antagonist doesn't necessarily have to refer to a being. An antagonist can be something outside of someone's control. An antagonist can be something that is inanimate. So an antagonist can be something that is above and essentially beyond the realms of sustainability, controllability. The idea is that when I use the term antagonist during all of this, antagonist itself is simply a way of us saying something that is against the protagonist's desires or goals, or will negatively affect them, right? So use that very freely. And again, the key thing is adapt the structure to suit your framework. I would even say that you could actually sort it into being a conflict as opposed to an antagonist in itself. You could say that the conflict stems from the protagonist's inner thoughts and use that as kind of an impetus to base your story around. So, and of course, could the conflict be like something related to the PWP, like running out of the supplies, like anti-baby balloons? Yes, anything can be something that you use as a conflict. Anything can be used to sort of bring it in. In fact, I would actually say tailor the rest of your story into this encounter and then work your way outwards from there. I think that having anything sort of drawn in and then used and then sort of spread out is a very good idea. And try and interconnect your story as much as possible, even so much as in the language. And I will use examples from my own text later on, of course. And of course, good work for the anti-baby balloons. We love those. And you said we can cut out the antagonist's triumph from the narrative, but what if the antagonist is one of the characters involved in the romance? Good question. So would that make them an antagonist? Or would they then shift to a protagonist? Or would they shift to a deuterantagonist? I would say the antagonist's role is something that needs to be seen as extremely flexible when you're writing smut. I would say that when you are looking to develop, focus on the conflict between the characters and what is preventing them from already sort of doing their thing and being together, and then use that to base around what if a person or an entity or a thought or some sort of anti is the antagonist. I would say focus on that and definitely be ready to sort of step away and sort of go and then sort of like re-examine the framework. Again, tailor the framework to fit what you desire. And Dex, the club guard dog, thank you very much for the super question. I was wondering if you had any advice on expanding vocabulary and sentence development. My work feels flat sometimes and I need help. There is a section with that coming up. You good guard dog. Who's a good guard dog? Who's a good guard dog? You are. Anyway, yes, there is an entire segment towards the end, and also there is a segment back in the previous revision, I believe it is Script Writing 101, where I have an entire chapter dedicated just to expanding your vocabulary as well, which is lovely, absolutely lovely. And an antagonist inside one's head can lead to self-cest. Yes, it can. And what is the best way to make sure you're avoiding adding things that aren't necessary to the story? Sometimes it's easy to tell something's not. So how do you spot? That's a really, really good question. How are you able to spot things that are unnecessary in your own work? Be very, how do I put it? Be very objective when you are reviewing your scenes and your structure. Now, if we go back and actually look at the, let's actually go back and show and sort of, go here. Let's say looking at the scene structure again, which was back here, right? When you plot your scenes out and when you show sort of what's in here and what's necessary, I would say stop and ask yourself what they contribute to the plot overall. What does the side story contribute to the plot? What does this action within the side story contribute? What does this show or tell the audience? What does this show the audience? Show, don't tell. Remember, show, don't tell. Show, don't tell, darling. But what does this show the audience? What does it show? What does this showcase? What aspects of a character are presented through this? And if you can't find an answer, or the answer is that it shows something that is, again, presented in a different context or in a better way later on or earlier, scrap it. In the words of a very brilliant professor I had a very long time ago, to make good art, sometimes you have to kill your darlings. So be ready to kill your darlings. Teehee. Oh, probably have trouble with this. I realize. No, that's a really good question though. And beta readers, are there alpha and omega readers too? Indeed. Most readers are going to be omegas though, because they get handed the work. You can ask, am I telling you for this, the audience, or myself? Exactly. So what we'll do is we will move into the next step now, okay? Not the teehee. I know the teehee. I know it's the teehee. He ain't wrong. Now, next up we have smut time. That's right. Phase 2. Phase 2, smut time. We're moving on up and moving on out. I know. I see the gleam in all of your eyes right now. You're ready. It's smut time. Yummy smut. So, when do we begin writing our smut? That's the question on all of your lips. Or should I say, where do we begin writing our smut? That's the question on all of your lips. Where do we begin? How does the story start? Where does it go? How do we go from here to there? When it comes to writing something, the most difficult point is where to start, right? It's putting pen to paper and choosing what to begin with. Now, it's always a difficult process figuring out exactly what you want. So let's tackle that together. It's the same things as we need for any short story where we start. So whenever we write smut, we approach it like we would any short story. That's why I wanted to go back and revise over basic plot structure, right? That's why I wanted to bring you all up to speed with that. We revise it the same as any short story. This initial framework, right? We take the initial framework and we adapt it into what we need, okay? So, as you can see here, side story, core story, antagonist POV, side story affects main plot, happy ending, right? Now, we're going to aim for a different kind of happy ending in this one, tee-hee. However, right, you get my point of view. Now, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to adapt this into some kind of plot and see if I can shuffle things around into a framework that better suits what we need. So if I take my beady little Incubus hands and go, who are our characters? What is our conflict and what is our climax? That question that I asked everyone a little bit ago, right? So we're going to use this to inform that. We're going to take two of the things that we've taught. We're going to take so just to go over again, we're going to take the framework, ask ourselves these questions, and then use these questions to inform the framework, the answers to these questions. Your horns are cut off at the top. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. What are you talking about? Stop doing drugs in my class. So, who are our characters? What is the conflict? What is the climax? We've gone over through this before, right? So, I am going to use my own work as the example. Now, you're either going to all say this is incredibly based or incredibly cringe. So, good luck to me. Good luck to me. Let's go. So, we're going to answer these questions. So, I want to write a smutty fic, right? I want to write a smutty fic. So, what do I want? Who are the characters and what should they be about? Well, I rather like that Zander Netherbrand guy. So, I definitely want him in the fic. I also rather like 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽. I'm rather a Blazelust fan. So, I'm going to put these two together. What's the conflict? I want there to be something dangerous in there, but I also want it to feel very at home. So let's say the conflict stems from a miscommunication and spirals out of control from there. And what is the climax? Let's have it climax in violence into sex. Let's go from A to B. Let's go violence into smut. We'll have the miscommunication cause the situation to escalate and eventually result in aggression and then smut. Let's see if that works, right? Now, we'll take these and we'll fill out the missing points here and answer the question together. So, our characters, Zander and 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽, the conflict is going to be miscommunication, and the climax will be violence into romance, right? So, this is the rough framework that we're going to be working with, right? I hate miscommunication. I love miscommunication if it's done well. So, we know what the characters are, and we know what the miscommunication is going to be. Now, he, and my goodness, thank you very much, darling. We will get to the suppers in but a moment. Now, what we'll do is we'll say what kind of miscommunication this is. Now I have a very specific idea of what I want this miscommunication to be. I can't remember if I've made a note of it on the next slide. So I'm going to check, and if it's not there, then I'm going to tell you guys what I think it's going to, what I wanted it to be for this writing. Okay, let me just have a little peek. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so it's not there. Okay, so what I want the miscommunication to be is that I want... Actually, no, I do have this. I'm going to keep you on tender hooks. What we'll do is we'll use this now to inform the structure. I'll keep this in the structure of the lesson I planned. So, now that we've got the answers to these three questions, we're going to take the answers and we're going to put them into a framework like so. So, we are going to take that initial simple ABC that we have with the side story and the protagonist's journey and the villain's perspective and all of that, and then we're going to just take it and instead spin it into a straight two-character story, beginning to end, one chapter at a time, right? So, taking that basic ABC narrative, or should I say the side story, antagonist POV, climax, etc. We're going to change this into a slightly different format now. So, for this 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽, Zander, 𝓂𝓸𝓼𝓽, we're going to have an introductory scene. So, establishing characters and relationships. From there, the encounter begins. This is going to be the two characters talking or sort of presenting their relationships with each other in an interactive manner. So there is introducing the characters and then there is having them interact. And obviously interacting is always when we turn around and make the characters see how they kind of act with one another when they're left to sort of roam freely. We'll spiral that into their first romantic moment, their little thing where it's will they, won't they? And then, just to keep people on edge, we'll time skip. We'll time skip very deliberately to make sure that there is there's a sense of waiting. We'll have the romantic moment fizzle out and then do a time skip. Finally, we'll have another romantic scene between the two after the time skip. Then the conflict is going to rise from there between the two of them, resulting in the climax and resolution. So what we'll do is we will say, through this encounter, we'll say, Zander invites 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽 to dinner. The two of them have been sort of going back and forth and kind of flirting for a while. The encounter begins with 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽 arriving at Zander's apartment and the two of them enjoying talking for a little bit and sharing a bottle of wine. Then this will spiral into a romantic moment between the two of a will they, won't they, which is going to be quickly broken up by the timer for the lamb that's in the oven going off and causing Zander to need to break away to go tend to the kitchen. We'll time skip forward to after dinner because of the fact that dinner is always a difficult thing to write around because it's an activity that's done consistently, into another romantic scene where the things escalate between the two of them before this conflict goes and rises. I know, lamb, very deliberate choice again. And which rises into a conflict between the two of them, their misunderstanding escalating, before turning into a climax and resolution of the two of them figuring it out the way only an incubus and a dinosaur could. So, So, with that in mind, we have a rough framework to work with now. And we can then take this and use it as kind of an instructional when writing. Okay, we'll use it as an instructional before diving in. I hope that you're finding this very informative. Question time. All right. Come on. Okay. So I hope that you're enjoying this so far. Welcome to question time. When was that time skip? It was going to be just a short time skip so that to avoid writing dinner. If you've got questions so far, and of course, Pastry, thank you for the super. I have high hopes because I fucking rolled out of bed and rambled in notes as you started typing, but ended with different angles. It's all good. It's all good. Don't you worry. You've got this. You've got this. I believe in you. Can you drop the full fic? I'm desperate. This isn't even a full fic. This is just a framework I made very, very quickly in like 2 nights. Okay, don't think that I've got like a 40-page document here. How many chapters is this going to be? Ideally, this is going to end up being the framework of what I've done here. This might squeeze into about 3 chapters, give or take, with sort of a first half and a last half of each scene. So just as an example, I've broken these into first halves and last halves. So sort of like, you know, not including the introductory scene, of course, because that's usually kind of weaved in. First half with the encounter begins, second half with the romantic moment, then the time skip breaks it up into a second chapter, first half with the romantic scene, second half into conflict rises, and then of course third chapter of, you know, the spicy stuff happening. So, tee-hee-hee. Tee-hee-hee. You know, but here we go. Take a seat. With that, how many types of miscommunication are there? There are endless amounts of miscommunication. There are dozens and dozens of different types of miscommunication. Characters can misunderstand each other. There can be misinterpretations. Language is a funny old thing, and it's very easy for us to somehow end up getting completely mixed up. So you don't actually have to get into insanely creative when you're writing about miscommunication, because it happens more than you think, you know? How to write their names without over-repeating to describe what they're doing. That is a good question. So my trick is, and you'll see this in the writing example later, use a descriptive of the individual, right? So if we're leaning into Zander's POV, it's not Rysar leaned over and, you know, kissed him on the forehead or whatever. It could be, you know, the towering orange dino boy leaned over, pressing his lips to his forehead. See, it's the descriptive language. Make sure the language feels more descriptive and you won't have to lean into using the names as much, you know? Lean into descriptive language and it helps and pulls from it. How do we utilize time skips effectively? That's a really good question. So I'm normally not a fan of time skips. I tend to overthink every scenario. I would say there's usually a point where it feels like the scene ends. Don't think of it as a time skip. Think of it as simply that chapter ends and the next one is set a little bit further along. That's probably the best way to do it in my mind. Just do that, you know? It's very, very good. It's nice. It's something that can definitely be used, and don't overthink it. That's a huge one, you know, huge one. And of course, Pastry again. Unreliable narrator is such a fun and useful writing POV, and I love it. Nothing has to be true. It's true. I'm a huge sucker for unreliable narrator. I adore it. Unreliable narrator is something that I'm a huge fan of, and of course, I make a tiny bit of use of during this as well. Tee-hee-hee. I usually go for color of eyes. Yes, exactly. Descriptors are wonderful. Descriptors are fantastic. And of course, how do you feel about going out of your way to write all 5 senses into these types of scenes? I prefer to do it to bulk out my writing and to build up a scene. We do touch on all 5 senses later on as well. You're ahead of the class right now. But yes, all 5 senses. You don't have to go out of your way to do all of them, but I would say focus on what is the focus. Now, we're going to be touching on the senses in the, like, not this next slide, but like, I think 2 after that, we're going to be focusing on senses. And we're also going to be talking about the interplay between senses and also your style of writing and the descriptiveness of what you touch on. So buckle up, buttercups. This is going to be a good one. And how do you balance metaphoric prose and overt innuendo, etc.? I figure it out. I know that sounds like such a bad answer. You have to kind of be able to analyze your text, and we will be doing an exercise to analyze text in a bit as well. So it's going to be good. I feel like I jumbled using he a lot. Does using descriptive still work then? How do I go about not focusing too much on the descriptions? I would say using he is always acceptable. Not great, but acceptable. As long as you throw in a descriptive, a short handful of descriptive words beforehand, so that the audience is able to determine which he you're leaning into. Too many he's and it all becomes a bit of a shit show, you know. Too many boys, and a he could be a me, it could be a Gale, it could be a Lucy, it could be a Cass, it could be a Roscoe, it could be a Malum, could be an Altus, could be an anyone, right? So I would say make sure to just use small descriptives, like, you know, the Oni paused as he, you know, leaned over. Suddenly we all know who that is, right? The flesh golem paused as he leaned over. The genie, you know, just feel free to hit with that. It's very, very good. It's good. The gay writing trope. The too many boys. There are too many boys. This will be a VOD. Yes, indeed, this will be a VOD. There will be room for you to catch up. This is not going anywhere, but I've tailored this very specifically so that we can make sure that this is a VOD. Don't you worry. It also depends heavily on your sentence structure. Sometimes he just needs to move somewhere else in the sentence to make sure it makes sense. Exactly. That's totally it as well. Making sure that your sentence structure is up to snuff works. And again, we will touch on structure. We will touch on writing skills. We will touch on little dashes here and there. Has anyone ever seen those little like lyric genius videos where they like go through the rap song and they highlight things different ways of what they're doing and what they are? And like, oh, this is interplay. This is a rhyming couplet. This is a thing. This is that. We're doing that with some of my writing later on. So we're going to do that with some of my writing, and we're going to use that as a base to work off of. I'm thinking that might be a really good educational tool in the not too distant future. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. All right. With that, question time. Away with thee. Teehee. So my key concept with this romance is going to be as follows, right? My key romance is going to be like this. This is what I'm thinking. Rizar and Zander have a simmering romantic tension between the two of them. All Zander's advances, though, have been rebuffed without explanation, but Rizar doesn't change his flirtation or behavior in response. This places Zander in a position of uncertainty and looking to regain his sense of control in this relationship. The truth is, Rizar is afraid that if he progresses the relationship with Zander to a physical level, he may lose control and harm him. Playing into a little bit of that dino blood there, right? You know? This kind of thing. This kind of situationship, right? Right, that's my concept. My apologies if I kind of had to come up with this one off the top for like a day or two. You know, I only had like 2 days to come up with this one. I hope you guys find it tolerable. All right. I hope you guys find this one reasonably tolerable. Finally, some good fucking food. All right. So, with that in mind, we've taken a moment, and this is what I would suggest as well. Just write a very brief version of your core concept, which is this. It's only about, what? It's not even a proper paragraph, really. It's probably like, what, 4 sentences total? Yeah, it's about 4 sentences total. So sum up what you've got, your concept, in 4 sentences, and use that again as a driving force moving forward. And just take a step forward as we go, right? So, this Oh god. Hi guys, I'm Zander 𝓂𝓸𝓾𝓻. You might know me. I'm from Fujo Stage Productions. So, with that, oh god. Oh, okay. We're moving into my writing. Oh god. Okay. I'm gonna read some of my writing for this. All right. Fuck. We're gonna read some of my writing for this. God forgive me. We're going to read some of my writing, and we're going to use it as an analytical thing. All right. So everyone behave. Fucking hell. So I've written out some of the concept of this. We're going to use this as an analytical device and move forward. Let's go. Now, in this context, 𝓱𝓸𝓼 has just bitten into Zander's shoulder for the first time as the situation escalates. This is from the latter part of this fic. 𝓱𝓸𝓼 savoured the sweet taste that filled his mouth. A heady rush equal to a thick, full-bodied wine. The meat earlier that night had been delicious. But 𝓱𝓸𝓼 was not surprised to discover Zander was a delicacy in a league of his own. A rich, sweet taste like honeyed wine that lingered on the palate, undercut by a subtle, yet cutting, smoky aftertaste that only beckoned for more. It took almost all of 𝓱𝓸𝓼's self-control not to bite deeper, ripping and tearing until he was satiated. Still, the taste was like a riptide pulling him deeper. More blood, more flesh, anything for the delicious meal in front of him. So yeah, that's our brief start there. So what we're going to do is we're now going to use this example fic that I have sort of just sampled here that I've done, and instead use it as a focal point. So we're going to go and kind of use it as an analytical point. So we're going to highlight the text. So that is one thing I was always taught when getting, educated in this line of work. Highlight the text. So what we're doing is, because a huge amount of this is about, shout out to my broski, cannibalism, we're going to be using flavor and taste in red, implied in a monologue in yellow, metaphor/food related simile in purple, and in a conflict in orange, right? So we're going to take all of these and apply it to the text and show just the different layers and interplay that we have there before we move forward. And this is going to be an example of how you can sort of like weave this into your own writing. So if we take a look at this example now, okay, for 𝓱𝓸𝓼 savoured the sweet taste that filled his mouth. Again, that is a food descriptive, another food descriptive, a rich sweet taste like honeyed wine that lingered on the palate, undercut by a subtle yet cutting smoky aftertaste that only beckoned for more. Right. So again, 𝓱𝓸𝓼's big dilemma throughout this, his big conflict is obviously the want to devour, the idea for food. So using very descriptive language in regards to the taste sense is something that we are able to then focus on in our writing and use as an anchor point to help propel the descriptive narrative forward, right? At the same time, we then also can use the yellow implied in a monologue. So implied in a monologue is something that you can use in the descriptive writing here, right? Which is going to sort of be the almost narration, as it were, where it's being, the entire fic that I've sort of done has been written independent of POV. It's been very factual. Zander does this, 𝓱𝓸𝓼 does this, Zander does this, 𝓱𝓸𝓼 does this. But in the storytelling aspect of how you describe, right? What we have here is a way the narrative or the narrator can hint and kind of lightly cajole the audience into thinking, oh, this is 𝓱𝓸𝓼's thoughts. This is what 𝓱𝓸𝓼 would be thinking. The meat earlier that night had been delicious, but 𝓱𝓸𝓼 was not surprised to discover Zander was a delicacy in a league of his own, right? Again, it shows an implied version of 𝓱𝓸𝓼's thoughts. It presents in the given context something relevant to the rest of the work, and also it adds to the descriptive nature of what is happening. The scene right now is a very intimate one. 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽 has bitten into Zander, and of course it's now showing that there is a certain reward there. All right. So it's a very strong A to B, as it were. Again, now what we'll do is we'll reference back metaphor/food related simile. Now, I wanted the interplay between food and flesh to be very, very tight during all of this. So a heady rush, like we comparing Zander's blood to a heady rush equal to a thick, full-bodied wine. Like, it's almost the idea that 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽 as a character could almost get drunk off of, biting into Zander, or, still, the taste was like a riptide pulling him deeper. Food-related simile, again, the taste was pulling him deeper, something that he's against. So we use very descriptive language and vocabulary to sort of move from there. You see, the pink/purple that we're using is always very kind of nice and tight. It's small little dashes that contribute to a stronger overall sense. And again, food and sex are so closely related. They are both so deeply entrenched on that like pyramid of need when it comes to most, that like you can often conflate the two. It's why there are so many sexual I don't want to say deviations, it's the wrong word, but almost kinks and and kind of attributions that like lean slightly towards food. Cannibalism is something that's there. It's so very intimate in this setting. So it's a strong one. It's a strong one. And of course, our last example was inner conflict. So a large part of this is 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽's inner conflict. So, it took almost all of 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽's self-control not to bite deeper, ripping and tearing until he was satiated. I mean, I like that. First of all, I want to give myself a pat on the back for some of this here, but also, right, the ripping and tearing until it's satiated. It's very visceral language. So again, this is vocabulary here. It's visceral vocabulary designed to show a certain mode of being, to put us in 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽's headspace without having to put us in 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽's POV. So yeah, he. We'll see how that goes. It puts it in the headspace without necessarily putting it in 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽's POV, but what it'll do is really strongly allow us to enter 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽's mindset. Again, more blood, more flesh, anything for the delicious meal in front of him. Zander is not a person at this point. He's a meal. More blood, more flesh, anything for the delicious meal in front of him. This isn't even entering his POV. This is descriptive writing. But again, it puts it in a position where it's presented as 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽's thoughts because of the fact that it's been told and shown to the audience in such a way that it can't help but feed into the overarching narrative and gently place us within 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓼's mindset. It's good. Yeah. It's so good, I'm crying. Teehee. This can apply to drawing comics too. Sometimes manga artists cover images in screen tone to indicate something's happening in their mind. Exactly. Beautiful example, Yes. Teehee. All right. So with that example having been used, you can dissect most text in some sort of way like this to kind of pick out the parts that you think are interesting. You do get a gold star. Good work. Meh. There, stuck on your forehead. You get a gold star. Enjoy. So yeah, overall, you can pick apart any text like this and try and see what's been done. And by sort of unraveling the threads of how this has been stitched together, you can then learn to sort of sew something similar yourself. So there you go. All right. Use this. This is not the only example we're going to be using. This is one of two. So keep this in mind. All right. This kind of way of unpicking and picking and seeing what's going to be there is useful in almost any context. So keep this in mind. And of course, if you find fics that you think are well written or that really appeal to you in future, feel free to sit down and do something similar. Say what you are looking for and sort of move through. What other motifs can you use beside food? That's a really good one. Normally I'd save that for question time, but that is actually a really good one. So I would say use any of the 5 senses as your anchor point for sort of the motifs that you want. So start with the sense you want to engage and then focus on that as something moving forward. Touch is a really easy one, obviously, but there's something about writing the way something feels against your skin, you know. I think, let me see, what would be a good example here? What if I took the text in front of us right now and I changed it from being, instead of about Rysar's desire to eat, what if it changed to a desire to kill with a focus on skin and squeezing, right? For example, you could change it to, it took almost all of Rysar's self-control not to squeeze, snapping and breaking Zander's neck until the incubus was broken before him, you know, something like that. You could literally put that in there. The sense of the feeling of the incubus's warmth against his skin was a riptide pulling him deeper, you know. You can use that motif and then apply it to something else, you know. You can steadily just use the physical sensation and the idea of a positive physical and mental attribution from A to B as a way to encourage a POV or encourage a certain feeling within the POV, you know? It's getting a little toxic in here. Yes. Tee-hee. 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 Oh, goodness gracious. With that, let's move on to the next thing, shall we? Our conflict is reflected within the text. The conflict is Rysar is worried that he may eat Zander, so the text reflects the temptation of that conflict within Rysar himself. What we've done is we've taken our core conflict from all the way back here. We've saved our conflict, which is why I got everyone to answer these questions at the very beginning, right? Here, what is the conflict? What is the climax? What is this? I had us answer all the way back here, and we've managed to imbue the text itself with the sense of conflict in front of this. We've actually managed to take the essence of the conflict and put it into the text so that it is embodied not just in the actions of the characters, but the descriptive nature of the words, the dialogue, and even when the characters are experiencing things, the conflict has become imbued into it. It's like putting it's like lemon flavored vodka. We've distilled some lemon into this text. Wait, so I predicted the thing that I asked about before. Yes, you did. Okay. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That's why I was. Yes, you're good, Netherling. So, with that in mind, let's answer another question, shall we? Don't worry, we're gonna have another. Wait, actually, no. Wait, I think this was a question port. Wait, I think this was a question break on my part. Ah, no, come back. Yeah. Wait a minute. Okay, no, I think that was a question break that I just wrote stupidly. Okay, this is a question break. That's a question break. Don't worry, that's a question break. We're having another break for questions. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, yeah, this was a good question break, I believe. Bro fumbling his slides. Yes, I am. Just a little bit though. Okay, and of course, Pastry again. Thank you very much for the super. No, come back. Stop playing. There we go. Let's answer this question. There we go. So, Pastry, thank you for the super. You keep causing me to write in-depth scenarios, but my text count is far too long once I type it in. But RIP, you have a very similar writing perspective as me, so thumbs up, brain rot handshake. Perfect. Thank you very, very much. And of course, I hope this is helpful to you in some way. I hope that my creative little brain doing weird things is helpful, and I'm very glad. And of course, Porphyria Minos. So how much to get you to actually finish the fic and post it? Asking because it would be a good teaching resource. No other reason. That's a good question. I mean, how many pages did I have on my chat? On my. Let me open up how many pages I have on my practice. How many pages did I write for this? I did write a few. Let me see. I kind of just vibe the fuck out. Honestly, to be completely honest, this is the reason the Siren ASMR got a little delay. Let me see. Where did I save it? Did I save it under Smut? Or did I save it under Corner of Shame? Let me see. Zanny Ideas? Zanny... Oh, did I save it as Sin? I might have just saved it as Sin. No, it was Random Musings. That was it. There we go. There we go. I think I put it as Rise Up. There we go. Here we go. I wrote 9 Fuck off, I wrote 9 pages. Okay, but that is double spacing. Okay, 9 pages with double spacing, though. 9 pages with double spacing and dialogue. Okay, but there's like a large amount of blanks in there as well for like showing text and like snappy dialogue. So don't think about that. Don't think about that. It's like, yeah, it's 9, but it's double spaced, and like don't think that too harsh. But like don't be too serious, because like it's double spacing dialogue, and also like there's gaps, double spacing between like each line of dialogue as well for like snaps. So I would say like the word count's only 4,000 words, which isn't very much. That's only actually like 4 pages condensed. So I would say it's 4,000 words total, like condensed. So let me buy it off ya. Let me buy it off ya. What do you mean? Let me buy it off ya. Yum. 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 Do you have some examples of how to utilize other senses? Oh, we do have some of that later on as well. We do have some of that later on. It's gonna be good. Don't you worry. How to write good dialogue during the hot scenes without sounding cringe? That is actually a wonderful, wonderful question. So, you know, taking dialogue during these sort of hot scenes is really nice. So, hell, the old school citrus scale makes me so nostalgic. Right, citrus scale best, citrus scale best. You get what I'm talking about. You get it. Pastry fucking gets it. Sometimes you gotta get a little zingy, a little lemony, you know, a little bit of lemon and lime. I'm like a 7-Up, you know. Okay, what's a good example of like dialogue here? So, okay. Adult dialogue is always going to be a tiny bit cringe. Adult dialogue during sex is always going to be a tiny bit cringe, right? It's always going to be a tiny bit cringe. However, right, what makes it not cringe is the believability that you've built up in your world. So turning around and actually polishing what you've got to a point where it's like, okay, this is cringe, but it's believable, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, but everything's cringe if you're not into it. The trick is gently building up the scene so that they're into it. You know, if I get pulled into bed and start calling someone mommy, you know, that's weird. If I call someone daddy, yeah, no, that's like cringe if it's coming out of nowhere, you know? But if it's been gently sort of like worked up to over time, gently polished in, gently like, you know, worked and eased in to fit the tone that's gone on, then the tone is going to support the dialogue and the dialogue is going to support the tone, right? Yeah, that was the example I used. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Oh, goodness. But yes, that's just that. Calling them zaddy at first glance. Exactly. Good build up leads into good dialogue, you know. The scene have the they forget the cringe. Exactly. Investment negates cringe. Exactly. And of course, Porphyria Minos. What if we use supers to motivate you to finish it? Please, I long for food in the way Rizar longs for Zanny food. 4,000 words is good. Post the Blaze Lost work in progress now. If the vibes vibe, they vibe. And if the vibes don't vibe, the battery is drained and nothing is genuinely off. Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it. It's gonna work. I mean, do you? I don't know if I'd post this. I feel like I'd have to ask Ryzar. Yeah, for that type of thing. I did this to try and get examples from the text for you. This was meant to be an educational thing. Don't you dare gatekeep what you wrote. There, it's very fragmented. This was designed as a educational tool as opposed to like an actual like fic. So do keep that in mind. If you don't finish it, can we finish it? Sure, do your thing. Have a sneaking suspicion Ryzar will want to beta read. My goodness. If anything, I'd have to wait 2 weeks to make a new AO3 account as well, wouldn't I? In order to post. So, you know, you're going to be out here starving either way. And Carla, Keto's Keto's High Priestess, or Golden Keto's High Priestess. I normally watch Zanny streams while I'm at work on Fridays, but seeing today's title, I know I absolutely cannot. Have fun, Zanny in the Netherlings. I'm sorry, Nether Keto. I'm sorry, Nether Keto. You're not. This ain't the one for you. You can watch it when you get home. It's not safe. It's not safe. But yes, back to our questions, shall we? Is that the homework? Finish the fic? No homework. No homework. No homework. This is purely an educational class to help you sort of like learn a little bit about writing in this sort of sense, you know? Besides, we haven't actually got to the dirty stuff yet. This is just the foreplay. It gets far worse. Far worse. Far worse. I'm so sorry, Dark Overlords. This is who you've employed. It's your fault. I say that when the people who hire me don't even fucking work here anymore. Oh, goodness. The first homework I want. It gets... Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. If there are any more questions to like slide in, do let me know now, or we'll move forward onto the next example we'll move on to the next example. A good example would be some screen caps I see of BL Mama on my Twitter. They say something silly, but when they read the chapters, you forget how ridiculous it sounds. Exactly, you know? Like, it's going, oh no, I'm gonna, oh, Chan, you know? Like, yeah, no, that's, like, you have all the build-up and it's fine. Exactly. We love you, Dark Overlords, you know? Fujoshi Stage Productions. I find that the foreplay is more interesting than the actual thing. The actual thing is boring when I write. Well, heck. Hopefully this lesson will get both to be heckin' interesting for you, you know? Let's polish you up to be a lean, mean, fic writing machine. Before you know it, you'll not only be writing great foreplay, you'll be writing incredible scenes, smut scenes themselves, and you'll be writing even more delectable aftercare. Brackets, there is no aftercare for Ryzar during this. I decided he didn't get any towards the end. I wanted to leave him emotionally damaged at the end of this bit. All right. So, you know what? I'll read the ending for you. I'll read the ending for you at the very end of. If you guys are good, I'll give you a treat and read you the ending that's not on this. All right. Here you go. All right. So we'll move on to the next bit. All right. Yeah, exactly. You'll get a treat. You'll get a treat. So. We'll use one more example, all right? It'll be another reading example. So, sit tight, everyone. We're going to read one more. Ryzar, I didn't mean to. Zander started before suddenly stopping as Ryzar opened his mouth to speak. What if I didn't feel so lonely with you, and I wanted more of that? Ryzar said softly, his hand drifting down from the neck of the wine bottle to sit across atop Zander's. Ryzar could feel the Incubus's warmth radiating into his palm as Zander's cheeks filled with a light shade of pink. Ryzar, should we... Zander started before suddenly being startled by a shrill ringing from the kitchen. Fucking hell. Zander cursed, already moving towards the kitchen. I'm sorry, that's the timer for the lamb. There you go. Not as strong as the first one, but it's still pretty strong, right? The antagonist is here, right? The tension, the gentle tension, the touch of skin on skin, you know, the actual food, right? So what we'll do now is yet again, lamb. Yeah, the idea is it's dinner. It's dinner together, right? So again, what we'll do is we'll break down the text to show the following. So physical sensation is important, and you can use these. These are the ones I want you to keep a hold of when you're writing your actual smut scenes, when you're writing actual sex. These are the 4 important ones. Make a note of these. These are the 4 important ones for sex, all right? These are the most important when you are writing a scene like that. These are the ones that you are going to want to keep and break down. Physical sensation, emotive language, language breaks, and the physical advancement of the scene. All right, these are the 4 magic bullets that you require. Okay, these are the chosen ones, the golden children, as it were. These are what are going to drive you all the way home, buy you dinner the next morning, and also pay your childcare bill when they're done. All right, these are the good ones. All right, so with that in mind, we'll start off with physical sensation and go forward from there. Rizar could feel the incubus's warmth radiating into his palm. Really, again, physical sensation, right? We have very little physical sensation, actual like physical touch between the two being described. This is very dialogue heavy and very slow, but the idea is we're looking to build tension here. So keeping it dialogue heavy, slow, and then making sure that when the physical sensations are spoken about or used in text, that it is accentuated to the point that it is engaging for the audience, that it's really highlighted and drawn. So again, the one use of sort of the physical sensation of just the hands touching is a very strong, and it's also, again, if you reference back a few lessons, it is a descriptive, it's a visualization that is very easy for an audience to actually sort of picture in their mind, you know? A hand drifting down from the top of a wine bottle or the neck of the wine bottle to sit on Zander's. It's an easy scene. It's things that people know around their house. They've seen, you know, you probably see a wine bottle every few days or at least once a week. You can know what's going to happen there. You can see sort of the gentle touch between the two, right? Very easy. Easy physical sensation. Then we're going to use emotive language. Emotive language, again, sprinkled in. So there's a trend with the emotive language in this scene, right? And it is a tear between can't and should, right? Can't and should are going to be the two sort of like keywords, right? I didn't mean to. I didn't feel lonely with you. Should we? You know, again, that's sort of the tear in front of us. I didn't mean to. I didn't feel lonely with you. Should we? You know, again, those are powerful words, right? Those are powerful words. The idea of touching very raw human emotion is something that just, it goes across to every audience, you know? I think I didn't mean to is one of my favorite phrases in writing. Favorite phrases. I didn't mean to. It shows a certain level of innocence, you know? That something was accidental, and yet there's still a level of responsibility there. It's great phrasing, you know? The I didn't feel lonely with you is a wonderful example. One of the small things that we touch on slightly before this scene is Rizar talking about how he feels as if he's alone because there's no one else like him, you know? The rest of the dinosaurs had died out, and as a result, he was alone. You know, he had been recreated as a cross between sort of, he was an experiment. So there was no one like him. There was no one to be his mate, you know. That was like a point of contention in the scene before, you know. I didn't feel lonely with you is like a perfect gut punch with what we've given, you know. The conflict, yeah, exactly. The implications that come with the phrase, the guilt, the conflicting emotion. Take a second gold star. Take a second gold star. Take that. You get 2 gold stars. Yes, I didn't mean to. Yes, a well placed I didn't mean to is so perfect. Exactly. And then finally, should we? Should we? The idea that the door is now open to something more. Should we? Should we do it? Should we take that leap? And the fact that the answer before the should we is cut off. You know? The fact that it's cut off before the should we is deliciously angsty and is perfect for emotional damage. It leaves not only you, but the characters painfully hanging on. It feels like an interrupted kiss, but we only had the smallest smidge of physical intimacy in there. The small little red bit of physical intimacy has been torn away just as things were about to escalate. It's delicious and it keeps you wanting more. And then, of course, the language breaks. So language breaks are simply things that break the scene. So words like startled, that's something that's going to show, oh shit, jump, change of everything. Fucking hell, that's a language break. You know, it shows we're breaking the tone. So the tone up until this point was very slow, very intimate, very romantic. Startled, oh shit, fucking hell. You know, it goes from there, right? Just perfect language to just suddenly say, oh shit, we're breaking the way this is going to go. Fuck shit, fuck, we're changing how this is going. It just changes the tone of the scene. It breaks the tone. It's a language break. Perfect, right? And then, of course, the physical advancement of the scene. The physical advancement of the scene. Now, I'm sure this is pretty self-explanatory, but just in case you don't know, the scene physically advances with the two people. They come closer. They touch against each other. They kiss. They touch. Hands run up against skin, etc., etc., right? Beautiful. Zander's cheeks filled with a light shade of pink. Now, technically this could be physical sensation, but I liked the idea of putting it under physical advancement because obviously it's pretty much giving like a certain level of I want to be touched there, you know? It's also quite the harsh place. That gold star for you again. Gold star. Take a gold star. It's like it's quite the moment. It's almost inviting to a certain degree, you know? It utilizes another sort of sense. It utilizes the feeling. It helps as a descriptor. It's not what we're going to heavily lean into, but it's a good one. And then, of course, we've got this extra bit of pink that I've added in here. So we've added in a little extra pink, right? Because I've used some magic words in this, all right? Now, they're words that add to the overall soft, intimate tone between the two. So you can tell, you know, the I didn't mean to. It's a very innocent scene. I didn't mean to. As if to Rhizos opened his mouth, literally, hand drifting down from the neck of the wine bottle to sit across Zander's. Rhizos could feel the Incubus's warmth radiating into his palm, Zander's cheeks filled with a light shade of pink. It feels intimate, doesn't it? It feels very soft and vulnerable. I think vulnerability is probably the main thing here. And now I've used certain evocative words that are there to sort of accentuate the scene. Softly, warmth, pink. You know, the idea is that these are words that tend to be emotive towards a little bit more innocence, a little bit more, a little bit softer, a little bit more vulnerable, right? And it worked. It works. It works. It adds to that sense. Obviously, it's a little less dense in terms of writing because of the text than the earlier example. However, it does progress the scene. I should probably have highlighted the 𝔂𝓸𝓾𝓻 moving towards the kitchen as the physical advancement of the scene in orange, but nah, not even I'm perfect. I do hope that you enjoyed that. Now, round 3. We're getting near to the end now. Round 3, or round tee-hee, as I'm going to call it, right? Round 3, tee-hee. What do we focus on when writing, all right? It's, oh, goodness. So, what do we focus on when writing our smut? Well, physical sensations. This is a recap of some of what we've got so far. Physical sensation. Engage all 5 senses, having characters interact physically. Rhizar and Zander, we had, in those past 2 examples, we had every sense. We had sight, we had taste. I don't actually think we had smell. We had 4. Sight, taste. Actually, no, we did have smell. We did have smell. Smell of, spoke about the scent of heady wine with like the sort of undercut. Yeah. So we had sight, we had smell, we had taste, we had hearing, we had everything back and forth, right? We engaged all of the senses. We didn't force all of them, and some of them were kind of a bit shadow present, but still, they existed, they were there, it happened, the movements were gone through, right? And it worked pretty fucking decently, right? It contributed towards an overall tone. Again, use implied monologue to inform the character's actions to the reader. So whenever we have those, Rizal wanted more, to bite, to tear, to rip, all of that. It's implied in a monologue, which allows the reader to be informed of what is going on in the character's head through the actions of the narrator. And then we have use emotive language that reflects the conflict of the story in its delivery. So we had that, the soft, the pink, Rizal, should we? I didn't mean to. Those little things that add to the tone and then contribute overall. Or if we're going back to the previous piece of text, the constant references to food, the idea of devouring, the idea of biting, how everything is brought down to a taste, a flavor, a palate. These are all beautiful examples within the text to then further kind of establish our goal of moving and letting the words themselves be emotive. So add emotion, let the text be emotional, let it be emotive. Use words that invoke feeling from within you, use words that are visceral, because it really does work. It pulls it out, And then of course, bonus tip, allow character actions to be imperfect to create believable and organic dynamics. That's why I wanted to use miscommunication. It's common, it's simple, it's easy. And yes, Zander was written as the bottom in this one. But yes, it is the imperfection of the characters' interactions allow for something messy, and it allows for the characters to sort of go their own way and develop in the scene. It allows for that certain amount of, we're not perfect. It's going to be messy. It's going to be bad in places. And it works, It works. The idea is that, no one likes seeing perfect characters interact. It's fucking boring. So having them be broken, having them be silly, having them make mistakes, it makes it all the more engaging from an audience perspective. Right? Closing questions. We're at slide 31. I've given you as many tools as you need to write good smut. Now, as you guys think of your questions, how about I read you a little bit more of the fic that I have here, the example fic, right? To give you guys a moment to type some things out before you send. We'll go through that. All right. So. I'll give you guys a little treat. Give you guys a little something as a thank you for sitting through my little lecture so far. Rizal awoke the next morning to the smell of fresh cooked meat, still lingering throughout the apartment. The feeling of silk sheets against his bare skin. The luxury of a large bed all to himself. All to himself. Rizal's eyes adjusted to the morning light drifting through the open curtains, looking over the space where his lover had once been the night before. There was no Zander in sight. In his place, a small note with messy handwriting sat on the pillow where his lover had once been. Had to open the club. Hope to see you soon, bestie. X. Bestie. The words hit Rizal like a punch to the gut. The Incubus was gone, and in his place something was new. A strange feeling rolled inside of him like a puzzle piece being forced into the wrong hole. Rizal had no clue what this was, but a sense of determination filled him. I'm going to make that Incubus mine. There you go. There you go. Bestie zoned. Yeah. I thought that would hurt you all. I don't think I want this fic anymore. No, this actually works. Like, will he make you his? Exactly. It's a question. And now, speaking of questions, question time. Another question. How much emphasis on senses would be too much? How do you know when it's getting overwhelming? How do you know if you're dragging it on for too long? I would say try and keep it to maybe a sentence or two each. Don't try and lean on one sense. If you oscillate between each one while simultaneously moving the scene forward, what you'll do is you'll create a really dynamic experience, making sure that everything is sort of covered. From there, you can go back and you can actually like edit, type things down. It's never bad to have more stuff on the page. The only bad thing is refusing to take stuff off the page when it doesn't work. Put as much on the page as you want, throw it on, do as much as you desire, then it's just up to you to trim away the fat. Honestly, never admonish yourself for writing too much or feeling like you've done too much to a scene. You can always trim down the fat and make it more streamlined. That's the best advice I can give you with that, you know? I got an ad, please replace the last bit. Ryzar didn't know what this was, but a sense of determination filled him. I'm going to make that incubus mine. There you go. And Dex, thank you for the super. Thank you for such an incredible class. I'm inspired, but I was wondering if you had thoughts on how to navigate writing things like hypnosis. I've been stuck on that for so long. Much love. Hypnosis is an interesting one. I would say find a metaphor within the text to use with your hypnosis, right? The idea of like the constraining of free will. Create a physical sensation that you can latch on to the character whose POV you are writing, the hypnotized individual. Have a sense of constraining pass over the individual, or something to show that they are not fully in control. Have a physical sense that you tie the idea of hypnosis to, and then have that sense be almost manipulated, heightened, or like played with as a way to show the effect of the hypnosis, and then bounce it back and forth with actions from the other character, who I'm assuming is going to be slightly more antagonistic in this situation, as a way of sort of manipulating the action and directing it to go where it wants to go. So yeah, again, play with the senses on this. Hypnosis is such a deeply intimate setting or tool. Make sure that you use it in a deeply intimate way and show how much it affects the sort of quote unquote victim in a visceral fashion, you know? And of course, Porphyria Minos, please boss, I'm never going to let it go. If it's 2 weeks for an AO3 account, then it's 2 weeks to work on the fic. Is tempting you? Oh goodness, like what have I even gotten here that's like solid. And Idle Boys, thank you for the super. Also on the writing advice. As an artist, I find this useful too. Do you have any books on writing that we could recommend? Something like writing terms people should know, etc. What about videos? That is actually wonderful. My bookcase is just over there. Let me lean and look at my bookcase really quickly. Let me see. You know what? It's an acting book, but I'm actually going to recommend it. It's an acting book, but I'm going to recommend it because of the fact that it talks about emotional countenance. And it also plays with the idea of scenes and how to write them. I think that you've asked about terms and stuff like that people should know, but I'm actually going to recommend an acting thing. I'm going a little bit off script here because I probably, you know what, I'm going to say, look up the Brecht toolkit. So that is the BREHCT, I believe, toolkit. It is a really good one. It's from an acting practitioner. He speaks a lot about how to devise scenes in a post sort of modern way, but it's a good one. It's a good one. It shows about scenes. It talks about the concept of Chekhov's gun, where it's don't ever put an object on the stage, and if you don't intend to use it. It's a good concept. It's a decent one, and again, it teaches you a little bit on how to establish a scene in a postmodern way. And I think that if you can take the rough principles from the book and transpose them into your writing, then it will give you a real boost, if that's sort of the direction you want to go. And the grieving model, thank you for the super. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for sitting through my class. Of course, it's been absolutely wonderful, and we can talk a bunch more about it, and maybe I'll read you a few more fix snippets as well before I go anywhere. Any recommendations about writing a character without a certain sense? Unable to control / feel their robotic limbs / detached. Is it that they don't... If it's a robotic limb... Okay, here's one. If it's a robotic limb, or if it's a limb they've lost, right? The lack of feeling in the limb is the thing that they're not used to, necessarily, right? So, definitely, I would say, play with the idea that it's something that, you know, you can always play with, like phantom pain, you can always play with phantom touches. There's something that's done a lot, right? But also the idea that there's almost the odd expectation of feeling something when you do touch something, you know, when you do reach out, when you know, the idea of, oh shit, yeah, I don't feel anything, that moment of forgetting, you know. I think a really good example of that would be I wore glasses for the longest time, right? And I actually had to wear them because I had bad eyesight for quite a long time. I had to you know, have corrective lenses. And I remember I used to, when I was younger, I would still, you know, reach up to take my glasses off, you know, and put them away whenever I was about to do anything sporty. And I would always have this feeling of my fingers are about to touch on the rim of the glasses and I'm going to take them off. And I would have this moment where I was so sure I was about to touch them. I could almost feel like that moment before you touch, the moment right as your fingertips begin to brush against the plastic, that almost slight buzz on the tips. I could almost feel that as I went to reach for them, and then my fingers would meet each other, and I would have to have this moment of going, shit, there's nothing there, you know? And of course, Samato Keys, thank you very much. #1 Bazaar enthusiast. Thank you so much for the educational class. I definitely learned a lot. I hope it's okay to ask something more broad, but do you have any tips for getting over fear of bad writing or being overly critical of your own work? You know what? I'm overly critical of my own work, and that gives us what we just fucking got here, okay? The thing that you need to get over is showing people your work. Feel free to be like, yo, this is my work. Yo, you know, it's getting over and giving a fuck about showing people your work, but never, ever, ever beat yourself up for being a perfectionist. Never. I mean, yeah, there's times to tell yourself stop and breathe, and there's times to say this is as good as it's going to get. It's time to stop touching it. But honestly, it's really like, you will push yourself as long as you deal with it in a healthy way and know that, like, you are going to have to show people at some point. Turn down the criticalness just a little bit, but still that mindset of I can do better, maybe I can touch this, is something that will push you to, like, actually go really far and, like, some really good heights, you know. And definitely just make sure that with every point of sort of saying something bad about your work, make sure to tell yourself something good about your work. What did you do well? When you go, oh, I fucking hated what I wrote there, go, but this bit was really good. Make sure you balance it out. For every single criticism you level at your own work, attach a positive as well to it. Or talk about how that negative could be turned into a positive with the right level of work put on it. For example, right? I use the character names too much. I should turn around and work them into descriptions. Make it something so that it is a positive reinforcement and it gives you a route forward and something to do with it, you know? Like, give yourself actionable goals rather than just beating yourself up. And Voltaire Belmont, thank you for the super. Can we use your work as an example when Netherlings get together to enhance our writing? Loved the lamb in Ryzar's nom nom setting. Also, Can we use your work as an example of when us Netherlings get together to enhance our writing? I can read a little more for you if you want. I can read a little. How can I? Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. You guys fucking owe me if I do this. Oh god. Oh fuck. All right. Okay. I'm gonna use this as an example, and we're gonna straddle the line a little bit here. We're gonna straddle the line just a tiny bit. All right. We're gonna go to right before things get fiery. We're gonna straddle it just a tiny bit. Let's say, you remember the line earlier where Rysar bit into Zanny and was like about to rip and tear? We're gonna go for like the next sentence afterwards, all right? Here we go. All right. More blood, more flesh. Anything for the delicious meal in front of him. Just a little more, Rysar repeated to himself, his mind thundering with those words. He bit down harder, fresh blood filling his mouth, rewarding each bit of pressure added. It was while he was entranced, losing himself to the pleasure of the bite, that Rysar was hit by a sharp, stinging sensation carved across his chest. Recoiling instinctively, Rysar darted a hand down to the source of his pain. Blood. A clear, shallow cut stretched from his well-defined pec up to his collarbone. Blood trickled down Rysar's chest, slicking his muscles before falling to the floor. Not used to food with the will to fight back? Zander asked out of breath. The Incubus stood before him, partially slumped, shirt soaked on one side from the deep shoulder wound Rysar had inflicted moments before. A smug grin painted across his face as the demon's tail flicked, popping open his bloodied shirt's top button. The spade still sharp and wet with Rysar's blood. You cut me, Rysar said, his voice a mix of indignation and confusion. His face was flushed, unsure if it was from embarrassment over his loss of control or the arousal at the scene unfolding between the two men. You bit me, snarked Zander back matter-of-factly. Besides, you might want to hold on for what's about to come next. Huh? Next? Rysar parroted back, questioning the demon. A knowing smile filled Zander's face, the slightest hint of malice beginning to creep in at the sight of the blood caking the dino's mouth. That's what you get. That's what you get. No more. You get no more. You have been fed. You have been fed. There. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed. That's an example. You can see again, just to put in reference, you can see again in the text, right? Talking about the pain, the blood, the description, the descriptiveness of the feeling of the blood. Again, the not used to food with the will to fight back, the playing back and forth of this core dynamic, right? You can see all of this in here, right? The shoulder wounds, the gentle pop, the swagger that's there, the swagger that is written to sort of like Zander's character a little bit. You can see very clearly the sort of like interplay of what's going on, what's going from A to B. you can see the sort of like subtle malice. You can see again, it's very visual and visceral at this point, but I kind of figured that yeah, you can see the strong sort of like, again, examples are used within the text. And again, the dialogue is kept very snappy because of the fact that even though it's about to lead into like smut, it doesn't mean that we can undervalue the dialogue. You know, it's good. It's good. All right, let's shuffle on back to the room, shall we? That's this presentation. Come this way. All right, here we go. What's up, everyone? Professor Netherbrand back here now. Hi, I'm Professor Netherbrand. Welcome back. Hi there. I hope you enjoyed. Guys, he hates us. It's very there. It's an interesting one. Why the fuck did I do this? Porphyria Minus, thank you for the super. Absolute cinema. Right, absolute cinema. The not so lonely writer. How dare you hold this fic back from us? It's again, it's very like, it's very disjointed. Okay, this was written as a teaching implement, not a full fic. This is not a full beginning to end fic. This is 4 pages of scenes devised as a teaching implement. Right. That's what we're using here, okay? It's the concept as opposed to a polished and finished work, right? And Random Fan Grown Witch, thank you very much for the super sheep, much appreciated. And of course, Avi D Sleep Snitch, Mr. Professor Sir, I need the complete syllabus. Listen, there's Zanny. If Zanny won't post that, then so let's finish it for him. Please finish the... Okay. Giving you 5 stars and an outstanding review on my rated professor. Thank you very much, darling. And Realm, what's up, Realm? How goes it in the club? Thank you for the risk. Very informative and fascinating stream. Why, thank you for the head pats. Much appreciated. And I'm glad that you enjoyed. I do hope that you did enjoy. Oh, I like how you let the audience figure out what's going on. The shirt being soaked, his chest leaking blood. A lot of writers tell the viewers instead of letting them piece things together. Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan. That's a great point. I'm a huge fan of being like, oh, you know, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. You know, I'm a huge fan of making sure that the viewer has to piece things together. The reader has to piece things together because that's the way to keep people involved in the writing. If you move back and forth and sort of like, and spoon feed the reader everything. Yes, it makes it very easy for someone to just pick up and put down, but that's a fucking gas station book, all right? Do you want to be sold in a fucking gas station? No, you don't, okay? It's not a gas station book. It's like how Netflix tells people to not have plots that are too difficult for someone to, like, know what's going on while doing other things, you know? It's there. You will figure it out, you know? But for sure... I need the whole book. Maybe we could consider having a conversation in future where I finish this, right? Or maybe I hand over what I've done so far to a Netherling and they can fill in the blanks and then hand it off to someone else, okay? But that is a conversation for the future, right? For now, though, okay? Let it not be said. Let it not be said that I haven't taken my brother's Fudanshi label to heart, right? I hate spoon feeding writing. I see it in visual novels too. I'm more like for being lectured. Treat your audience, don't treat your... Exactly. It's beautiful to do it that way. Like it's beautiful to just make people figure things out and go from there, you know? And Spades, thank you for the glizzy. Thank you very much. And I'm Rui, thank you for the rose. Much appreciated. Stormy, resident spider catcher. I would have went to my college literature class a lot more if it was anything like this. Well, I've tried my damnedest to make this engaging, and I did want to make the writing accessible. I think that... Yes, fine, you can have a star. I think that it's a bit of a crime where writing and creative writing and sort of the methods involved in it have become so inaccessible to the general public. The fact that it's become so arcane that people find it difficult to access resources to improve their fictitious writing is something that, in my mind, is probably one of the sort of like greatest tragedies of the education system. And I think that the idea of less emphasis being put on fictitious writing rather than official or sort of more formal writing is something that will come back to bite people in the arse sooner or later at some point. That's why all of my 101 streams, I never member them, I never put them behind gates. This is actually something that I do feel quite passionate about. I feel that the idea of writing is something that everyone should possess. I think that, you know, everyone should be able to read. I think everyone should be able to write, and I think everyone should be able to tell a story. And that's something that I do feel like really passionate about. So I think that this is my silly little way, as a silly little incubus in a silly little corner of the internet, to try and make fictive writing far more accessible for far more people, and hopefully give you at home the tools that you need to improve your own writing abilities and give you guys the opportunity to become better at something that you could actually become, you know, really prolific at. You know, I think that there are more great writers that we have lost in this world through them never having access to improving their abilities than any tragedy that could have taken place within our lifetimes. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah. And of course, 𝓂𝓻 as well. Thank you very much for the thanks. Much appreciated, darling. Much appreciated. And 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽 as well. Thank you for the lesson. Are we allowed to make art based on your fiction? Fuck yeah, you're always allowed to do art with me, with anything. I always give blanket permissions with anything I do, anything I take. Feel free to create any type of derivative off of it. Just go crazy. Always 100% on your side when it comes to art. I'm always on the side of art. Yeah, no, massively, massively. So, upon that note, I have a collab to go get ready for. I hope that you guys take a little bit of time to fan yourselves, you know, cool down a bit. And of course, you know, if you did enjoy the stream, maybe give it a like. Feel free to pass this stream along if you want people to like get more into writing. And of course, if you're new here, maybe consider subscribing. I do educational streams once every few months, just as a way to sort of like give back and give people some opportunities to maybe get into writing. And if that is something that you perhaps would be into, then this could be the place for you. But either way, I hope that you did have a wonderful time here, and I will be back in just under an hour with some backrooms, escape the backrooms together with 𝓂𝓸𝓼𝓽. So I do hope that you all enjoy. I don't see anyone else live right now, so I'll probably raid you into my waiting room, and then if you want to hang around and come see me play again, then you can. You can see me do some more Vtubers stuff. And Shimomi, hey, thank you very much for the super, Shimomi. So, until the next, I have been Zander Netherbrand. You have been my dear sweet netherlings. Until the next, much love. Bye-bye for now. Mwah. Bye-bye.